Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, here we are for another AFL 2022 season review. And in today's season review, we're going to be reviewing Gold Coast Suns 2022 AFL season. Now, of course, going in ladder order, the Gold Coast Suns finished 12th after a pretty decent year, to say the least, from a Gold Coast Suns point of view. They had a really good year, and from where they've been in the past, this was a really good improvement, and perhaps just a benchmark of what next year or the near future could look like for the Gold Coast Suns. This year was probably I reckon, their best year they've had in the league. They fought out many games and played some really good footy. Let's go ahead and hop right into the season review. So, of course, in the season reviews, we do the ladder position and recapping the season. Some highlights, best wins, some good players, lowlights, the worst loss, what's next, trade period, and coach. And, I do have a pretty important, some really important things to say about the trade period for Gold Coast, and then recap and final words. So we're not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead, hop right into things. So, of course, the Gold Coast Suns finished one step higher than, of course, the previous team, Hawthorn, but they did a lot better. They had a really great season. They were contending for the top 8 the most of the season. They finished 12th with a record of 10-12, 10 wins, 12 losses, with a final amount of points being 40, with a percentage of over 100 at 102.8. So, of course, we're going to be recapping the Gold Coast Suns 2022 AFL season. Round 1, it started off with a really good win in Perth against West Coast. They won by 27 in the end, and that was a really big win, and that almost set up how their season was going to end up playing. Really good win by the Suns. It wasn't again against a great side and a bit of a COVID-decimated side, but in Perth, that travel, oh man, that was a really good win for Gold Coast. Round 2, they played really well against the Demons at Metcon as well. Lost by 13 in the end. Really competitive for the whole game, though. Really good effort by the Gold Coast Suns. Round 3, though, all the work they put into the first 2 rounds is almost gone. Really disappointing loss to the Giants by 26. And, look, both teams really showed nothing in this game. The Giants showed they could get out to about a 30-point lead and just hold it for the whole game. It was a really boring contest. Really good win, though, versus the Blues at Metcon. They had set up some really good wins this season, had the Gold Coast Suns, won by 30 in one of their best performances of the season. Couldn't back it up against the Saints, so lost by 26 points. But again, they were competitive for some of the game. They got thumped by the Lions by 52 in the Q Clash. And then the Pies did manage to take them down. Every year I'm always saying the Suns always manage to beat the Swans at the SCG. It's just some sort of record that always just seems to stand. But another really impressive win by the Gold Coast Suns. And then another really good one versus the Fremantle Dockers. And they absolutely smashed them. They won by 36 in wet conditions. And they'd set up some really good wins. Next round they travelled down to Ballarat. Really tough play. Really tough place to play at Mars Stadium. Lost by 19 points after being extremely competitive. And that's the thing that I want to say about the Suns. They may not have won all of their games, but they were hunting for the top 8 for most of the year because they were competitive. They had that drive. They never really gave up. They smashed the Hawks by 67 at TIO. Stayed up there for a week. Smashed North Melbourne as well. And then they comfortably dealt with the Crows before another really good performance. Another loss, but a really good performance, losing to the Power by 2. And again, another really good performance at the Adelaide Oval. They haven't had too many great performances there. This was one of their best at the Adelaide Oval. Couldn't quite clinch onto the win, but they still played their absolute best. Next round, lost to the Pies by 5, but again, really competitive. They beat the Tigers by 2 after making a mammoth comeback to win after the siren. And then it was a bit of disappointment. They went to Melbourne to play the Bombers, lost by 48. Of course, Sam Draper got goal of the year there at that game. And then very good Q Clash against the Lions. One of the first they've really been competitive in. Lost by 17 points at the Gabba. Took down the Eagles by 3 points in a good game. Metcon, really good there. Competitive against the Hawks, lost by 7. And then that round 22 loss to the Cats by 60 showed nothing did the Gold Coast Suns. The Cats were just way too strong. And then, of course, they thumped North Melbourne by 67 points in a pretty good end to a nice year for the Gold Coast Suns. So there was some really good wins in here for the Gold Coast Suns. They had a really great season, as I just said. The one against Sydney does really stand out. A good one against Fremantle as well is another big one. I'm going to have to say win of the year is against Richmond, though. They fought really hard to come back in that game, and the comeback really does make that game something that you've really got the trap that you fall into. And then the kick after the siren by Noah Anderson, 50 metres out. Unbelievable, that game. They did have some other impressive games as well. And then, worst loss of the season. Now, let's see, the Giants game was a disappointing loss for Gold Coast, so I feel like that one could easily take that spot, because some of their losses they were really competitive in. The Q-Clash versus Brisbane, where they lost by 52 at Metcon, was also a disappointing game as well. Now, I think I'm going to say, for the most disappointing loss, I reckon it's going to be coming against Essendon. However, I thought they were going to play quite well, and they just got absolutely thumped. And going to include another one in there as well, which, yeah, I'm going to have to say was against the Giants. Disappointing game, that one, for the Gold Coast Suns. Very disappointing. Let's go ahead, though, and talk about a little bit of the trade period they got coming up. So, of course, Gold Coast have a massive trade period coming up, and they look like they're going to play a really big role as to how some really important deals will end up getting done this trade period. So, there's just some massive deals that are going to get done, which are going to be relied on the Gold Coast Suns. And the first thing they're looking to do is they're looking to do a bit of a salary dump in the end of the Gold Coast Suns. They want to do a bit of a salary dump, and that pretty much means they just want to for example, they want to do Jack Bowes and pick number 7. So the club that accepts this deal is going to end up taking Jack Bowes, who's almost valued up to about $1 million, which is very overrated for a player like him, and pick number 7 along to go with it. But it's a very heavy contract. So Gold Coast are looking to just take out a few players of this salary cap. Now, Isaac Rankin's also going to be leaving the salary cap. The Gold Coast Suns don't want that. He's requested a trade back home to South Australia, where he will join the Adelaide Crows. That's a massive loss for the Gold Coast Suns. He's a very talented player, and the Crows are going to love him. That did leave that void in the small forward role. However, reported not too long ago actually, Tom Berry from the Brisbane Lions is looking to move to the Gold Coast Suns as a small pressure forward who's got speed, and the Gold Coast Suns are happy that he's requested a trade there, and that deal should be one that will get done really quickly. Now, there are some other players. Braden Fiorini is on the trade table as well. He wants to go to Collingwood. Meanwhile, Jeremy Sharp is looking at a deal on West Coast. The Suns don't want him to leave, but Jeremy Sharp could be leaving. He's also not part of that salary dump, but he might end up leaving anyway. So the Suns are going to have I reckon they're going to have a pretty decent draft hand. However, they will end up giving some of these players away with picks. Example, pick number 7, Bowes, they're going to be leaving together as a bundle, and that deal will be happening. There's been many clubs interested in Bowes, so the Suns are going to play a really big role in this trade period. They've got not so many players coming in, but they do have some players going out, and they're doing a very big salary dump, which is going to be important in their future. But yeah, big loss, Isaac Rankin. Other players that look to be on the outer are Braden Fiorini, Jeremy Sharp, and definitely a few others, Jack Bowes. Yeah, but there's a big list of players that could be leaving the Gold Coast Suns, so they are definitely a watch team ahead of this trade period. So let's just go ahead, wrap it up there. The Gold Coast Suns had a really good season of improvement. This is one of their best seasons to look back on and go, wow, we did a really good job that season. They were very competitive in most of their games and had a really good season. And this is just looking for more improvement for the Gold Coast Suns. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Send you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.